Is this the dagger?
G'day guys, JB here. Week 1 of the 2025-26 NBA season is in the books, and it's been an entertaining and interesting one to say the very least. There's been some results which we certainly didn't expect. There's been some slow starts, some hot starts. There's been a real rise in contention for some individual awards, and there's even been some quick flashes of, well, what could this team have done? What should this team have done? And where is this team going? It is only early, of course, rocked by a gambling and betting scandal. Not that that has any pertinence to the actual on-court play now, or does it? That is the real question. I think we'll get into a touch of that where we can, when we can. But let's get into it. Let's get into the review. Week 1, and of course we'll start in the East, and we will start with the Atlanta Hawks, who went 1-3 on the week. They're currently sitting 11th in the conference. Trae Young, their best player, he played in all 4 games. 20.8 points, 2.3 rebounds, 9.5 assists to go with 1 steal and 2.3 turnovers. Bad shooting from Trae, as seems to be the case when the Hawks go really, really bad. 36.4 from the field, 19.2 from deep, and 83.3 from the free throw line. That's not going to get the job done. They do have a win under their belt, but they don't have, well, some of the victories under the belt that they should. And realistically, it's coming down to the fact that some of their offense has not been strong. A lot of their defense hasn't been committed. And this is the kind of result that you get a 1-3 start for Atlanta. They'll want to work on that, particularly seeing as they could be a top 4 team in the East. Moving on to Boston, who are 1-3 themselves. They're 13th in the conference, and you'll find a lot of these teams are simply separated by the fact that they have different positions in the conference. They have the exact same record, 1-3. Jaylen Brown, their star player, leading the way, 4 games played, but not necessarily the production that you'd be wanting, particularly from a defensive standpoint and from a ball-in-hand efficiency standpoint. 26 points, 5.8 rebounds, 3.8 assists to go, 0.3 steals, and 0.3 blocks on 4 turnovers. 50% shooting, 47.8 from the field, and 74.2 from the free throw line. It's going to be a really interesting year. I think Boston's going to have some chemistry issues early. Again, I still have faith that they're going to be a playoff team, but it's just a matter of how much of a playoff team they are. Can they commit? Can they get on board? Can Anthony Simons really try and make something out of it? Is Peyton Pritchard going to step up? Can Derek White maintain his consistency as well? If that's the case, Boston are going to be okay, but they're going to need a lift, because the last thing you need to be is anywhere close to well below 500, and there are some teams that are starting right off the back marker. Boston can't afford to be that team. Speaking of teams that are a long way off the mark, and this was flagged well and truly pre-season, the Brooklyn Nets, 0-4, haven't won a game. They're last. Let's keep it really simple. Cam Thomas has played 4 games. At one point had a 40-piece without an assist this week. 24.3 points, 1.5 rebounds, 3.3 assists, 0.3 steals and blocks on 2.5 turnovers. And despite the free throw line being complimentary, not great for a bloke that's trying to pour in all these shots. 41.8 from the field, 33.3 from deep, 86.5 from the free throw line. Again, we're talking about one of the worst teams in the league. There's not much else to say beyond the fact that they are dead last. Let's just keep it really simple. Let's keep it really easy. They are pushing it up a hill, and they don't have a paddle. They don't have a hiker's kit. Nothing. They're in a lot of trouble. Charlotte, 2-1 on the week, albeit against 2 of the worst teams in the league, but nonetheless they are currently 4th in the conference. And as expected, as we see early every year, LaMelo Ball putting up numbers. Not much substance as far as who they're against and what impact they're having in a genuine winning culture, but nonetheless putting numbers up. 28.3 points, 8.3 rebounds, 9.7 assists, so generating a lot of high-octane offense and reasonably efficient at it too. 2 steals, 0.3 blocks on 3.7 turnovers, 48.3 from the field, 41.9 from deep, and 80% from the free throw line. The ultimate concern does come when Charlotte play a decent team. As to how they're going to look defensively, they've had a lot of highlights, there's no doubt about it, but as I said at the start of the season, this is a team that's going to be a highlight-laden team. It's pretty much the gist of what they're going to be. I want to see them play some tougher competition. 2-1 against 2 of the 3-4 worst teams in the league certainly is a decent start. You need to take advantage of it. But if they're going to have any impact and they're going to do anything successful, it's got to be against some decent teams. So we'll see how that pans out in the next couple of weeks. Over to Chicago, and I never thought I'd say this, but Chicago are the top of the Eastern Conference. Yeah, okay, it's only week 1, but it's something that you can certainly say for it there. There's no doubt about it. 3-0, undefeated, and Vucevic has continued to be their most consistent player, and certainly for me, their best player in this opening week. 20 points, 13 rebounds, 4.3 assists a game, to go with 1 steal and 0.3 blocks on 2.7 turnovers. Shooting the lights out as well, 63.9% from the field, 54.5 from deep, and perfect from the free throw line. He's been as effective offensively as any big in the league, not named Nikola Jokic or Victor Wembanyama. He's had a really good start to the season, of course. Big contract signing to Josh Giddey. He started to work into the season as well. And it's an interesting look here for Chicago. It's a matter of whether they can maintain it. I personally think they're probably a playing level team, just because history suggests that the consistency is not going to be there to get to the first round. But we'll see how that unfolds. Nice start from Chicago. Again, a team I want to see a little bit of depth too. I want to see what they're going to be doing against some highly competitive teams. We'll see how it unfolds, but a nice start nonetheless. Nice starts? Well, could have been a great start, but it has been a nice start for the Cleveland Cavaliers. 3-1 record. Their only loss coming to, well, the team that I think will be number 1 in the East, the New York Knicks. That has them 3rd in the conference with that 3-1 record, and Donovan Mitchell continues to be a standout on this team. And remains as one of the leading 2 guards in this league. 4 games played, 31.3 points, 2 rebounds, 4 assists, 1.5 steals, 0.3 blocks on 4 turnovers. That efficiency-wise for Mitchell is a lot higher than normal. Again, it is the start of the season. We'll see it peter out. 56.4 from the field is frightening for a guy listed 6'1". 35.5 from deep and 78.8 from the free throw line. Really made a statement up against Detroit to end the week. Didn't make Detroit, competitive at any point, which was, fantastic to see for a team that is being touted as one of the best in the conference, and certainly a team ready to make that next step. I think defensively they're starting to really click. I think when you look at someone like an Evan Mobley, who's going to be a perennial 2-way player in this league for the next decade, really established that last year. They're firing on all cylinders really, really well. It's a matter of can they keep it up. A 3-1 pace all year. Those 75% win rate's going to be really tough to keep up. It's something they can do, but a really nice start for the Cavs. To the Detroit Pistons, 2-2 start to the week, currently sitting 8th in the conference. And again, the fate of their team generally flows through how good their top echelon players have been. And unfortunately, it's been inefficiencies and a lack of kickoff that has certainly hurt them. 8th in the conference, a 2-2 week record, as I said. Cade Cunningham played all 4 games, 20.3 points, 5.5 rebounds, 7.8 assists. You'd like to see a little more scoring out of him, but you'll understand why in a second. 0.3 steals and 0.8 blocks, but possession of the basketball and effective possession of the basketball just haven't been there. 5.5 turnovers a game, 36.1% from the field, 26.9 from deep, and 78.6 from the free throw line. So realistically, with the way Cade plays his game, you want him making close to 35% from deep. You need him shooting at least 46-47% from the field overall, and you want a guard at minimum making 8 out of 10 from the stripe. So there are some major improvements there, and again, you look at the way they've played this week. They haven't certainly been firing. Durham with a nice game, which is really complimentary. You want to get contract sorted for him very soon, but just a really rough start for Detroit. Still finishing 2-2. I mean, it's a good base to build upon, but you just get a little bit more production out of your star players, and all of a sudden you have a far better looking record there for the Pistons. Over to Indiana, 0-3 start on the week, forced a double OT in their opening game. They've been competitive throughout. They just haven't been able to get that win. 14th in the conference at the moment. Pascal Siakam, their best player for my liking on the week, played in all 3 games, averaged 26 points, 10.3 rebounds, 6 assists, 1.3 steals and 0.3 blocks on 1.7 turnovers, and reasonably efficient, albeit outside of the free throw line. 45.9% from the field, 42.1 from deep, and 53.8 from the free throw line. It's going to be interesting to see exactly what goes on here. Mac McClung has just signed a contract with the Pacers. They have dropped James Wiseman. I'm not sure the thinking on that there because, let's be honest, Mac McClung is known as a dunk artist playing in the second division league. Now, they desperately want someone that's going to be able to continue to control the flow of this game, and they've still got their pieces, they've still got parts that are playing their role. Everyone knows that, but I just don't know what level of zing and zest that you're going to get out of a Mac McClung to try and improve this lineup. They need a win. I still think they can be a playoff team. It is only early, but it'd be good to see them get a couple of results over the next couple of weeks. Over to Miami now, 2-1 record, 5th in the conference, and yeah, I still don't know whether they're going to try and bottom out or not, but I think people have sort of slept on the fact that Norman Powell can play. Andrew Wiggins is a good sidekick. You've got guys like Bam who are still solidly contributing as well, which is a really good start. I mean, they've got a couple of pieces here or there that are trying to do their bit, but Norman Powell has been tremendous for them in their 3 games. Powell's averaged 24 points, 7.3 rebounds, 2.7 assists, 2 steals and 0.3 blocks on 2 turnovers. Getting towards that level of should have been an all-star last year. And when you look at his shooting split, still complimentary as well. 47.7 from the field, 50% from deep, 91.3 from the free throw line. You just wonder, I mean, I said it previously, do they end up doing something similar to a Memphis where they just try and salvage themselves a playoff run to avoid a bottom out, potentially try and drag someone in? Who knows? Of course, the questions are now coming around how someone like a Terry Rozier had previously been on this team. What does that look like? What impact has that had previously? I don't know. But a nice start there for Norman Powell, an okay start there for the Heat. We'll see how they can continue that on. Moving to Milwaukee, and they have been a one-man wrecking machines, 2-1 on the week, 7th in the conference. Giannis's best game didn't even yield them a result, which is scary to think, but he has played in all 3 games. With numbers, I repeat, 36 points, 16 rebounds, and 7 assists a game. 36 points, 16 rebounds, and 7 assists per game. 0.7 steals and a block on 3 turnovers. Adding to that, 68.3 from the field, 66.7 from deep. 62.9 from the free throw line. We know what Giannis is like from the stripe. Genuine one-man wrecking crew right now. And if it wasn't for all the crazy, ridiculous stuff that we're seeing out of Wembanyama, this guy would be talked about a hell of a lot more. Because he is still one of the preeminent players in this league and has been going on close to a decade now. It would be wonderful to see if Milwaukee could get at least a piece next to him or something complementary to him, because he's now willing to distribute the ball more as much as he is efficiently score. Milwaukee will be a playoff team. Or should I say Giannis will be a playoff team. Over to New York, they are currently 6th in the conference with a 2-1 weekly record. And again, like a lot of these teams, you're only going to see them split based on conference seeding and some really minor things at this point because their records are still the same early. 6th in the conference, 2-1 on the week. As I mentioned, I thought their best player for the week was Jalen Brunson. In all 3 games that he played, he averaged 30.3 points, 4 rebounds, 5.7 assists, 1 steal on 2 turnovers. For a little guy, that's pretty good floor production. 45.3 from the field, made a third of his shots from beyond the arc, and 92.3 from the free throw line. We're seeing some rotation, we're seeing some utilization of bench depth to really get this thing going. That's the positive thing that we're seeing out of the Knicks right now. They're going to want to try and stable up a little bit. If you're going to have Cleveland running through 4 games at 75%, the Knicks are going to want to do the same thing, try and separate themselves early. But because they've got that depth, because they've got those rotations, guys aren't playing as many minutes, we're likely to see a healthier New York team. They're going to be more offensively inclined, which I do worry about for some of their defenders who really relish that slowing down of the game. If they can get that in the half-court set, I think they'll be fine. But it's an okay start for New York. Things have been promising. Over to Orlando, and things haven't been as promising. They've started the week, the season 1-3 through their first week. They're currently 12th in the conference, and I think they're just trying to get a little bit of chemistry through. We've seen the effectiveness so far, but we certainly want to see some more chemistry between Wagner, who was, for me, their best player on an efficiency basis this week, someone like a Banchero, and of course a Desmond Bane. 22.5 points a game there for Franz Wagner to go to 5.3 rebounds, 3.3 assists, 1.3 steals, and 0.3 blocks on 2.3 turnovers. Shot 55.7 from the field, made a third of his threes, and a little pedestrian at the line, 73.9. We know what this Orlando Magic side can be. For the last 2 to 3 years, they've been a team that have consistently been close, that have consistently been up there. They just need to be able to stabilise and go for it. I mean, realistically, the worst period this team's gone through was Paolo's first year, where they went 15 and 25, something like that, and they managed to be a 500 team the rest of the way. Had some injury concerns last year and were able to still work their way back up to 500. I've got no doubt that the resilience of this Orlando team will see them bounce back. It's just not the ideal start. You never want to be fighting back from 500. Now, here's a team that I don't think anyone expected to be playing as well as they are right now. That's the Philadelphia 76ers. They are perfect through 3 games, and they currently sit second in the conference. And this guy right here making another huge statement. If we can get a full season out of him, it's going to be a scary outlook for his future. Tyrese Maxey, 3 games played, 37 points a game to go with 4 rebounds and 7.7 assists, 1 steal, 0.7 blocks on 1.3 turnovers. 46.1 from the field. I don't mind it when he's shooting 51.7 from deep, and he's taking double-digit 3-pointers a game. 86.7 from the free throw line. He can flat out score. He can flat out shoot. He's a genuine danger from anywhere on the floor. And the thing that's going to help him the most here at the moment is that we have Embiid pinch hitting minutes, who's not taking a lot of possession, and you also have a guy called Gilgeous-Alexander, who right now has been the hottest start to a rookie this season. Obviously, someone like Harper in San Antonio and certainly someone like Flagg have been good, but Gilgeous-Alexander has been to that next level. I mean, for Philadelphia right now, they have that succession plan. We'll see how it goes. 3-0 start doesn't mean anything, but it's a nice base to build upon. In Toronto, a 1-3 start to the week, and again, you're going to see at this point some separation purely based on conference seedings. 10th in the conference, but they're starting to find their feet a little bit. There's some nice positive signs there amongst their new leading 3. Scotty Barnes, their best player over that 4-game stretch there. 20 points, 6.3 rebounds, 5 assists, 1.3 steals and 0.8 blocks on 2.8 turnovers. So you can see that there still needs to be a little bit of production. There has been some restriction, and I think a lot of it's coming down to wanting to get your teammates touches so they're happy. 51.7% from the field, 53.8 from deep. So he is converting when he gets out beyond the arc, and 78.6 from the free throw line. Genuine capabilities and signs there that Toronto can try and do something and can try and push themselves up a little bit. Again, I think playing tournaments probably about where they're going to sit if they're going to make any level of noise, but it's going to be a matter of mixing and matching throughout that throughout the year and just trying to get touches to everybody, trying to get everyone feeling themselves. Again, we're talking first week, so if you're underperforming, you've still got time. If you're overperforming, you're likely doing it against some poor teams. And if you're at standard, then generally you're just playing at standard. So we'll see what Toronto can do. I think they've got a little bit of improvement. Over to Washington. 1-2 record on the week. 9th in the conference based on that. And there's been some okay signs, and I think the key leader there's been Keyshawn George at 3 games played all 3 of their games, clearly. That's why he's got 3 games played, and the Wizards have only played 3. 20.3 points, 9.3 rebounds, 4.3 assists to go with a steal and 1.7 blocks on 3.3 turnovers. So at least willing to commit on both sides of the ball where he can. 56.8% from the field for those 20.3 points, which is nice to see. 52.6 from deep, so an effective jump shooter as well. But kind of does make me wonder if a guy shooting 3 so well isn't converting at the stripe. I mean, he's less than 70%, 69.2 to be correct. Again, I don't expect Washington to do too much, but if they're going to have some output, if they're going to be consistent, guys like a Cam Whitmore trying to contribute, guys like Alex Sarr who have had an okay week as well. If they're going to get those guys some possessions and they're going to get them some looks at the basketball, then they're going to be competitive and they're going to develop over time. It's just going to take a little bit of time for that to occur. We'll see exactly what continues to happen to Washington as they work through that, but nonetheless, as we've gone through the East, let's head on over to the West. And in the West, we'll start with the Dallas Mavericks, who took probably the most public beatdown from any individual player of, well, certainly the last 5 years. a massive, massive loss to the Spurs on opening night. They've managed to go 1-3, and they're working out some things with their roster as well. And it's kind of crazy to think that after all of that, their best player is still Anthony Davis. 4 games played, averaging 25 points, 11.8 rebounds, 2.8 assists, 1.8 steals, and 1.5 blocks on 2.3 turnovers. So around those traditional Anthony Davis numbers. 52.1 from the field is expected, 27.3 from deep. He's pretty consistent with AD, but again, as I've always said, if you're going to take him, you've got to make him. And 74.2 from the free throw line. Dallas is going to be ultimately mixing and matching their lineups until they get something right. They've got a lot of size, they've got a lot of athleticism. They now need to balance that out positionally to be effective. D'Angelo Russell's coming off the bench. Cooper Flagg has started his career essentially as a point guard, and that's just traditionally not how those guys play. You would have Cooper Flagg, playing that 3, potentially that 4, and you would have D'Angelo Russell at the 1. It hasn't happened yet. It'd be interesting to see when Dallas execute it, but they still have the talent for this to work out. To Denver, who outside of their 1 overtime loss game had a reasonably consistent week. 2-1 record, 6th in the conference. I haven't actually got Nikola Jokic here as their most consistent player, or certainly their best player throughout the week, and he had a tremendous week. 20-point triple-double as always. But Jamal Murray for me, 30.3 points, 5 rebounds, 6 assists, 1.3 steals on 2.3 turnovers. He played in all 3 games. 53% from the field, 42.9 from deep, and 92.3 from the free throw line. So less than 2.5 turnovers on 30 points, 50-40-90 splits. Jamal Murray has turned up early in this season, and the big thing that I've sort of noticed with Denver at the moment, no Michael Porter Jr., Aaron Gordon had a ripping start to the season. You look at these guys getting their touches, it's more consistent for me now that he's out of the way. Someone like a Cam Johnson has to work into the lineup. Your Tim Hardaways, you've got your usual suspects there. Christian Brown's just signed a really nice big contract, but you're going to see these guys be able to get their shots up a lot earlier. I think this is going to be a better looking Denver team. We've seen enough signs early. It's a matter of whether the consistency and the longevity is there, particularly for Aaron Gordon and Jamal Murray. Over to the team that rocked them in opening night, who have been absolutely sensational themselves and look like a genuine semi-final team at worst. Of course, it's going to come down to age will not weary them, nor the games condemn, and pretty much whether the health is going to hold up on this side as well. The Golden State Warriors, 3-1 on the week. They're 3rd currently in the West, and to the surprise of nobody, their best player has been one of the 15 greatest players of all time, Steph Curry. 4 of those games that he played in, or he played in all of those games, 29 points, 4.3 rebounds, 4.3 assists, 1.8 steals, and 1 block to go with 2.3 turnovers. And he's back in that 50-40 club, add the 100 at the stripe as well. 51.4 from the field, 45.5 from deep, and 100% perfect from the line when he gets there. Again, you'd have to argue, is Steph going to be able to keep this up at his age? But the way this team is starting to function with some of the younger guys like Kuminga getting involved, Butler being consistent, Podziemski starting to really make some noise as well. What exactly can this Warriors team do? Someone compared it to Kawhi in 2014. Is there a chance that that's what Kuminga does here? I don't know. But there's a lot of savvy on this Golden State Warriors team. They could be a little bit of a smoky right now. To the Houston Rockets, who have had a slower start to the year, and again, I think this is coming down to chemistry and understanding how you're going to, get someone like a Kevin Durant, one of your 25 greatest players of all time, and one of the greatest scorers of all time. How are you going to fit him into your offense? Because currently he's now being used as a bailout option. Houston 1-2 on the week, 12th in the conference. Alperen Şengün, still for me their most consistent and best player on the week. 25.7 points, 8 rebounds, 6.7 assists to go with 2 steals, 0.3 blocks on 3.3 turnovers. I'd probably want to see a few more boards from the big guy and want to see him get inside a little bit more, and we're seeing that out of a guy that we'll mention clearly very soon. 45.3 from the field, 58.3 from deep, and 84.6 from the free throw line, so there's no doubt that he can shoot the P155 out of it. But it's a matter of it being consistent. Tari Eason was probably their best player in their only win this week. Kevin Durant still finding his feet. There's plenty going on in Houston. There's no doubt about that. This is a team that, again, they'll get through some chemistry, and I think they'll be okay, but they now need to really work out how is Kevin Durant going to fit in, because their offense clearly is still being put around someone like Şengün. Fair enough, he's your franchise guy. but you don't have one of the greatest scorers on your team of all time, no matter their age, and just kind of have them as a bailout guy. Be interesting to see how they work him being Kevin Durant consistently into the team. And despite the poorest start I could think of any team in the league this year, the Clippers have managed to go to 2-1. They currently sit 5th in the conference. And yeah, it's just amazing when you consider everything what was going to happen and potentially happen with this team, because they got blown out of the water by Utah to start things. Again, 2-1 weekly record, 5th in the conference. Kawhi Leonard for me, efficiently, both sides of the ball. Just thought he was their best player. 22.3 points, 6.3 rebounds on 3.7 assists. So pretty much career average numbers there for Kawhi. 1.3 steals, 0.7 blocks on 2 turnovers. And again, back to the efficiency from the field. 49% overall, 40% from deep, 91.7 from the free throw line. James Harden has been tremendous as well. Chris Paul in his pinch hitting minutes has been good. I'm surprised at that there. Zubac still playing well. It's going to be interesting for the Clippers. Again, what we saw against Utah is something that may happen, just purely based on that age. And I think that's something that you have to be aware of if you are a Clippers fan, because you can't afford for that to happen. That's the real scary part. You just can't afford for that to happen. The last thing you need is a slip up at the wrong time, and that's something that could happen in the playoffs. They can work through it in the regular season, but it could happen in the playoffs. Over to the Lakers. They're 8th in the conference. They're 2-2 on the week. And they've had some monster games. Luka Doncic had 2 huge games. Unfortunately, he's now out of the lineup for a little bit of a period here. LeBron James is still not there, but some guy called Austin Reeves produced the week of his life after a 2-2 record. Reeves averaged 35.8 points, 6.8 rebounds, and 8.5 assists on 1.8 steals, 4 turnovers. He's had to essentially be the number 1 option after being the 3rd option. But he's poured in an effort like that. 57.3 from the field, 42.9 from deep, and 88.2 from the free throw line. Like, that's epically efficient. He was your 3rd option last year in a playoff round that saw you lose as a 3rd seed. The first round. The worst exit in Lakers history, based on seeding. So the Lakers, I think, are going to be reasonably steady, but, I mean, the problem is you've got guys that should be getting better looks that don't, because you've got guys that are getting great looks that are. It's how you're going to be able to balance this team out, because it was constructed originally. Ultimately, this roster has been constructed around Luka and LeBron being on the floor. But if they're not on the floor and these guys aren't getting looks, then you've got to worry about an isolation scorer like Reeves, who, yeah, clearly can distribute, but the Lakers roster looks a lot different without the 2 best players on it. There's no doubt about it. Another example here of a team that has pretty much similar same record, but they are not sitting anywhere near it. And this is a team that has genuinely fluctuated in their performances. That is the Memphis Grizzlies. 2-2 record, 10th in the conference. Ja Morant, the 4 games also played in, 22.3 points, 2.8 rebounds, 6.5 assists on 0.8 steals to go with 2 turnovers. Inefficient scoring, and that has been the downturn when they have been a poor performing side. 41.1 from the field, 11.1 from deep, and 96.4 from the free throw line. Memphis are going from being, we're a really good team, to, geez, we're a really poor team. And that has been the genuine fluctuation around this side. And I don't know how they're going to be able to fix it. Defensively, when they've been on, they've been great. When they've been off, they've looked putrid. Offensively, when they've been on, yep, they've been a high-octane, high-energy team. And when they've been off, you don't want to watch them. That's the issue with Memphis right now with their scale. A playoff team, it probably saves what the franchise looks like. But just with the way they move, you have to look at this team as a playing team right now. Which is crazy to think, because 2 or 3 seasons ago, you would have pictured them to be a top 4 team in the West. And now you're looking at them as, hey, if things don't go well, we're going to have to rebuild. That is what the realistic answer is right now for Memphis. Moving over to Minnesota, they're also 2-2 and 9th in the conference, but the concern around them now is that their best player and one of the 10 best players in the league, well, he's currently on the sidelines having a hamstring evaluated for a week, and that probably means you're not going to see him for 2 or 3 if they play it smart. It also does depend on their start. 2-2, 9th in the conference. Julius Randle, their best player on the week. 25 points, 6.8 rebounds, 5.3 assists to go, 1.3 steals, 0.5 blocks, and 2 turnovers. 56.5 from the field, 42.9 particularly from deep, and 77.8 from the free throw line. It's just an interesting dynamic when you lose arguably the most explosive guard in the league. from your lineup, because that is how your entire offense is currently being constructed. Now, you can make some adjustments to get Julius Randle in. It slows it down a little bit more, but it also means it brings your defense in a little bit more. So there are some adjustments that can be made because there is a level of consistency to some of these players that are playing in Minnesota, unlike other squads who just don't have the consistency there. But at the end of the day, I would still rather Anthony Davis be on the floor than off the floor. And again, that's something that they're going to have to work on. How do they adjust? What can they do? And ultimately, how long is Ant-Man out for? New Orleans, again, they've got no one to run with their best player. They haven't won a game yet and currently sit dead last. And that's a concern because I still don't think that they could be the team that's potentially the worst team in this conference. 0-3 on the week, again, dead last. Jordan Poole played in all 3 games, and this probably is the reason we're looking at them being the worst team in the West, when your best player is averaging 20 points, 2 rebounds, 3.7 assists, 0.3 steals and 0.3 blocks on 1.3 turnovers. You look at that as a decent second option, but as the lead option, you can't be averaging 39.6 shooting in general. I don't care that you're shooting 37.5 from deep. That's really good, but it's everywhere else that you suck. Like, that really, really is throwing you off. 100% from the free throw line is awesome, but if you're not getting there enough, it's not doing much. New Orleans need a lift. I don't know what they're going to do. They look severely outmatched in all of their games. A lot of teams are able to keep them in it and then just blow them out at the end. I feel this is the theme we're going to see for the Pelicans all year. A theme that we're not going to see, though, and I don't think they'll keep it up, they are a team that is looking frighteningly good, scarily good. They're just looking really, really good. The Oklahoma City Thunder, 4-0 week, second in the conference. And they're doing a lot of this without a lot of key contributors right now on both sides of the ball. Gilgeous-Alexander through 4 games, 35.8 points, 5.5 rebounds, 5.5 assists, 1.5 steals, 1 block a game on 2.8 turnovers, 51% from the field, 84.8 from the free throw line, 24% from deep. And for me, the Thunder, the other side of this is Chet Holmgren has had a great start to this season as well. Like, a great start to the season. If these guys are leading the way, they're getting it done efficiently, they're playing both sides of the ball, the Thunder are going to be almost unbeatable. 65 games, to me, is still the minimum that we have to give this team. It has to be the minimum. There's no doubt about it. But what's the maximum? People are talking 70 games again. If they're doing this with without people in their lineup, they certainly can do it with people in their lineup. It's just a matter of whether they're able to really take advantage of a team they have a mismatch on, try and have a couple of easier nights here or there. But the Thunder, they're fine. They're totally fine. A team that isn't necessarily fine, and a lot of this comes down to the most recent game where, for me, the worst team in the conference rolled you, albeit in OT. And that's the Phoenix Suns. 1-3 record. They're currently 13th. Devin Booker still trying to be Devin Booker, although keeping possession of the basketball crucial in games that have been close. In the 4 games that Booker has played, 28.5 points, 4 rebounds, 6.8 assists, 0.3 steals, 0.3 blocks. Now, you look at that by itself to go with 50.7% from the field, 37.5 from deep, and 80.5 from the free throw line. Yeah, you're looking at one of the 3 best shooting guards in the league from a production standpoint. But at the moment, he needs someone else to help him translate it to wins. He also needs to be more careful because he does become that guy who can rotate to the 1. And 5 turnovers a game when you are being relied upon as a lead distributor is not what anybody needs. For the Suns, again, it's going to be a real find-out year. It's going to be interesting to see how they try and gel and mould. I have no questions around Devin Booker. I simply have questions around the Suns because the other issue now with Devin Booker, 10 years into the league, he's just signed a giant contract. And if you're trying to fit people under it, they need to be willing to play second fiddle. And if you're wanting to trade him away, you've got to trade him away as a number 1 option. So unless you've got the pieces, you're not going to accept it. Phoenix in a bit of a predicament here. Over to Portland. And considering the number 1 guy indicted on this gambling probe by the FBI has been their former head coach, they have looked like a very different team without him leading the way. In fact, you would argue they're utilising their pieces a little bit more. 2-2 record, 7th in the conference, and Deni Avdija being their leader and being one of the more consistent players on the week. No shock if you've been keeping up with Portland over the last couple of years, and certainly if you've been keeping up with Avdija for the last couple of years. This is a guy that can produce and just goes about it quietly. 23.5 points, 5.8 rebounds, 4 assists, 0.5 steals and a block on 3.3 turnovers, 47.8 from the field, 44.4 from deep, and 85.7 from the free throw line. There's plenty of pieces around this Portland team that certainly could see, a bit of a resurgence. Can they win more than 35 games? Are they going to play the right roster? Are they going to have the right pieces in at the right time? Because if they are, then you really have a lot of questions to ask of the coach. Of course, 2 of the last 3 years, there's been a chance to get Wemby and Cooper Flagg, and it hasn't eventuated. So you tell me why there's been poor performances. I think at this point they need to utilise what they've got. Over in Sacramento, it has been high-octane offense, clearly, because they're 1-2 on the week. And, well, their lead guy has struggled to do anything but score the basketball for me. Zach LaVine in 3 games, 31 points, 2.7 rebounds, 0.7 assists. Distribution is not there for Zach LaVine, and I know they've got some willing passes on that team, but you need to get the ball moving, bro. You need to get a far better look at the hoop. 0.3 blocks to go 1.7 turnovers there, and don't get me wrong, it's been reasonably efficient scoring it as well. 53% from the field, 35.7 from deep, 92.9 from the free throw line. I'd rather him have the ball in his hands than a Cam Thomas who had 40 points and no assists in a game earlier this week. But right now, again, Sacramento's going to be a high-octane offensive team. They've got plenty of guys who can score the basketball. Everybody knows that. But the ultimate question becomes of it, well, what are they able to do with it? Because right now, we're looking at a team that pours in the points but doesn't stop a breeze. Couldn't stop a leaf blowing in the wind. Is their defensive structure right now. I think they need to get more possessions back into Sabonis. I think he's their best decision maker, has been for the last 3 years. When they do that, they might look a little tighter, but defensively is where they're going to have to work on their game. Speaking of teams, though, that don't need to work defensively on their game and are starting to look scary offensively, that's the San Antonio Spurs, who currently sit number 1 in the West. And the reason they sit number 1 in the West is because they may have the best player in basketball. I don't even think it's a stretch at this point, because he makes the game laughable. And that's the only way I can describe Victor Wembanyama. He makes the game laughable. 31 points, 13.8 rebounds, 2.8 assists, 1.5 steals, and 4.8 blocks on 1.5 turnovers in those 4 games. Adding to the fact that he's shooting 60.3% from the field, he's still 36.4 from deep, and he makes 8 out of 10 from the stripe. You add in the fact that Devin Vassell, Stephen Castle, Harper are playing really good two-way basketball next to this guy and finding him and getting him possessions, and you have a team that may well and truly blow by the play-in tournament. There's already conversations around the 6th seed, and if it's all going to be based on the health of the guy in the middle, I think the 6th seed's their floor. Like, they've been really, really good to watch. Victor has been scary good to watch. And the Spurs have a lot of upside going for them right now. A lot of upside. And probably the most unexpected thing I thought I would say at any point this season. The Utah Jazz are 4th in the West. Now, it has been 1 week and they are a 2-1 record, but that is a nice start there for Utah, who themselves probably realising that they haven't got anything out of trying to bottom out the last few years, now have to realise their pieces and try and make the most of it. And culturally, how do they look if Jordan Clarkson's not on that roster? That'll be something we find out as the season goes on. So again, a 2-1 weekly record, 4th in the conference, and Lauri Markkanen coming off his big Eurobasket tournament, starting to really put out. Had a 50-piece against Phoenix to end the week, which is scary to think that it's not the only 50-piece that we've had this week. It's one of 3, and it's not even the highest scoring game we've had this week, nonetheless. 34.7 points, 8 rebounds, 3.3 assists, and a turnover. 50-40-90 club there for Markkanen, 50% from the field, 42.4 from deep, 95.7 from the free throw line. You do have to ask at this point, if Lauri Markkanen, 3 games into the season on a Jazz team that looks like they were going to do nothing, has scored 50, do we have a chance at someone breaking 80? Will someone match Kobe this year? Because that's the pace we're on right now. We haven't seen a 60-piece, but I think a guy I've recently talked about, like extremely recently, i.e. the last 2 minutes, is a chance to do that if he really wants to. I don't see it happening, but is a chance to if he really wants to. Yeah, surprise start for Utah. Probably the best way to describe it. And that's been week 1. It's been a really interesting week 1, to say the very least. Who's been your best performer? Who has underachieved? Which team is showing some really good signs? Which team has overperformed for you? And vice versa. Are the bad teams still looking bad? And who is a team that, or what is a team there that you think, well, geez, they're not as good as I thought? Be interested to know your thoughts. Hit like, hit subscribe, leave a comment below, follow the socials. You'll see the plugs down in the description. Anyway, guys, that's been me with my Week 1 review for the 25-26 NBA season. I'm out.